But that lady, that new press secretary, she's
that video, dude.
She's a gangster. They're prepared. And you know why they're prepared? Because they're trying to play gotcha.
Yep.
So she played gotcha with them. She checkmated them.
She came in there with that Elon Musk flamethrower.
Play that video.
Watching this clip, I couldn't help but think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists. But they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years.
Karoline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, suddenly found herself at the center of intense criticism from the hosts of The View. And the reason was surprisingly simple. She refused to go along with the panel's familiar political demands. The tension grew quickly, and the discussion spread beyond daytime television when Parcast host Joe Rogan addressed the situation on a recent episode of his show. Rogan stepped in to challenge the narrative, calmly breaking down the arguments one by one while criticizing what he described as exaggerated outrage and theatrical reaction. In his view, the panel's commentary felt disconnected from everyday reality, and he didn't hesitate to say so. The moment quickly caught the attention of viewers who were eager to hear a different perspective on the clash. If you want the full story and the details behind this heated exchange, be sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because what unfolds next is something you won't want to miss.
Lady, that new press secretary, she's a
That
gangster.
video, dude.
She's a gangster. Have you seen that video?
You've never seen someone more prepared for a question in your life, Jamie.
Have you seen that?
Yeah,
I'm talking about?
small point on that. Not the big point, but small point. She was so prepared.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, she's supposed to be prepared.
That's why I said you've never seen someone
You know
more
why?
prepared.
For that. They're
Karoline Leavitt received strong praise from Joe Rogan, who applauded the way she handled difficult questions from traditional media with calm focus and steady confidence. According to Rogan, she managed every unexpected challenge with accuracy and composure, something many viewers across the country had already begun to notice. Supporters often describe Leavitt as confident, logical, and grounded in fact, qualities they believe make her stand out in the role of White House press secretary. The comparison frequently comes up with former press secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, who served during the administration of Joe Biden. Critics of that period argued that briefings sometimes felt more like carefully managed messaging than straightforward exchanges with reporters. In contrast, Leavitt supporters see her as capable, articulate, and unafraid to speak firmly when challenged. At the same time, her outspoken style has drawn criticism from opponents, highlighting a broader debate about how strong and independent voices, especially women with clear political views, are received in the world of media and politics.
Young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework. Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10.
So what exactly was Karoline Leavitt accused of saying? The controversy centered on one blunt moment when she told the panel on The View that she would not tolerate what she considered their nonsense for even a second. That single line landed like a shockwave among many progressive commentators. The panel appeared caught off guard, especially hearing it from a young, confident, openly conservative woman who showed no intention of backing down. Leavitt remained steady and didn't retreat from her stance, instead challenging the tone of the discussion and criticizing what she believed were misleading claims. Supporters argued that she simply spoke with directness and confidence, while critics saw the remark as unnecessarily harsh. Interestingly, even some voices often associated with liberal commentary, such as Bill Maher, have at times criticized the tone of political debates on shows led by hosts like Whoopi Goldberg, suggesting that discussions can sometimes become dominated by identity politics and exaggerated outrage, rather than calm exchange of ideas. For many observers, moments like this highlight the growing tension in media debates and how strongly worded responses can quickly spark wider controversy.
Well, the usual suspects on the far left, the saying is, when you're in a hole, stop digging. You just lost a crazy contest to an actual crazy person. What a shocker that the people who see everything through the lens of race and sex see their election loss as a result of racism and sexism. Yes, if only we weren't so irredeemably unenlightened, we would have elected a black president by now. Oh, what?
Like Bill Maher starts criticizing the far left, it's more than just a small warning. It's a full-blown alarm. Karoline Leavitt didn't just hold up a mirror. she forced the panel on The View to confront their own behavior. At first, she stayed quiet because dealing with a group of daytime TV hosts wasn't her top priority. But the panel didn't relent. They pressed on, mocking her past, questioning her qualifications, and even suggesting that her role was based solely on her appearance. After enduring enough, Karoline responded, and she did so with precision, confidence, and clear reasoning, showing no hint of remorse. Each comment she made was deliberate, exposing what she saw as pettiness and insecurity. Observers saw a striking example of women who claim to champion independence, yet seem threatened when another woman stands strong on her own terms, especially when she refuses to follow the expected script.
This clip, I couldn't help but think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists, but they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years. They likened President Trump to Hitler. They have mocked him. They have shamed him. They have lied about him consistently on their show. And it was a joy to watch them on November the 6th when they realized that tens of millions of Americans do not listen to the lies.
Karoline Leavitt's words cut through the confident facade of the panel like a sharp blade, clear, direct, and impossible to ignore. While the hosts may have assumed she could hold her own, they were completely unprepared for the force of her response. Her rebuttal was not only bold, but precise, surgical, and highly effective, leaving the panel scrambling after she exposed the shaky foundation of their arguments. Naturally, longtime host Whoopi Goldberg didn't take the moment lightly. She responded with emotional outbursts and repeated talking points, trying to regain control, but the impact had already been made. Karoline's confident, unwavering stance was now visible to viewers everywhere, revealing a striking contrast. While the show often presents itself as a platform for bold discussion, a strong, independent woman stepping in and speaking her mind can completely disrupt the carefully curated narrative.
Not invited to that table. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason.
Listening to Whoopi Goldberg can be frustrating at times. Beyond her career as a celebrated actress with a handful of notable films, it's hard to point to clear initiatives or tangible accomplishments that have meaningfully empowered Black women in America. If you know of any, feel free to comment, because examples are surprisingly rare. Goldberg often presents herself as a moral authority, as though she's been tirelessly advocating on the front lines for Black women. But strip away the celebrity and movie credits, and what remains is a pattern of tone-deaf statements, confusing hot takes, and some of the most memorable missteps on live television in recent years. Instead of advancing important discussions, she frequently drags them down, and her voice, while amplified by mainstream media, doesn't necessarily reflect the real concerns or priorities of Black women. At the same time, when debates like this get out of hand, Joe Rogan often steps in to intervene, offering clarity and challenging the narratives being pushed. The result? A dramatic shift in the conversation that leaves the audience reconsidering who is really being heard and who is merely performing for the camera.
That people love to hate.
Yes, that's true.
They get so much hate watching and hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean, it is a rabies-infested henhouse.
When Joe Rogan entered the fray, it was like showing up to a knife fight armed with nothing and leaving with a cannon. His response was long overdue, precise, and unrelenting. Rogan dissected the current state of the panel, pointing out how daytime television often becomes a bizarre circus of disconnected opinions. And he wasn't wrong. Many statements from the hosts seemed so far removed from reality that viewers are forced to pause in disbelief. For instance, Whoopi Goldberg once shockingly claimed that race had no impact on the Holocaust, a statement steeped in historical ignorance. Earlier, she had compared the struggles of Black Americans to those of women in the country, framing two very different experiences as if they were competing hardships. These weren't harmless missteps. They were dangerous, divisive, and damaging narratives. Finally, Rogan used his platform to call out the hypocrisy, absurdity, and manufactured outrage that the show relies on, showing what happens when a program is truly scrutinized. Even Joy Behar tried to defend her co-host, but she, too, could not withstand the force of Rogan's critique. The panel, long accustomed to performing without pushback, finally faced a much-needed reality check.
Went after Joe Rogan on The View, and he fired back spectacularly.
You're worried about losing your job, and you're worried about podcasts taking over, and who's the source of news, and we said Donald Trump was but half the country disagreed with us, and he won, and this is and Joe Rogan believes in dragons because they're trying to play gotcha.
Yep.
So she played gotcha with them. She checkmated them.
She came in there with that Elon Musk flamethrower.
Play that video.
Joe Rogan completely dismantled Joy Behar after she made the bizarre claim that he believed in dragons. So absurd that even Rogan couldn't stop laughing. He pursued her with his signature sharp wit, not only addressing that ridiculous statement, but also exposing her long history of inconsistent and questionable opinions. Overreactions, hypocrisy, and a striking lack of analytical depth define much of Behar's commentary, and Rogan left little unchallenged. Yet his critique wasn't purely negative. He also took the moment to praise Karoline Leavitt, highlighting her intelligence, poise, and sharp insight. Rogan emphasized her ability to withstand intense media pressure, remain composed under repeated criticism, and provide substance where others rely on spin or theatrics. In his view, Karoline represents a refreshing contrast in today's media landscape, a voice that is honest, decisive, and action-oriented. She navigates political theater with clarity, responds quickly under pressure, and speaks the truth without hesitation. The real question becomes, in a world dominated by performance and talking points, how rare is it to encounter someone willing to cut through the noise and stand firm?
Whoopi Goldberg saying it's worse to be a black person in America today than a woman in Iran. I see we were talking about the trans issue before, and the New York Times really has come over on that to the sort of the sensible, liberal, not crazy woke position. I think this is a great first step toward getting the Democrats back to sanity, and a second good step would be we got to do something about this.
Bill Maher hits the nail on the head. If the principles of old school liberalism, true individual freedom, free speech, open debate, and real civil liberties are to thrive again, the intellectual rot at the heart of modern discourse must be addressed. And there's no better place to start than with the media landscape. Shows like The View have become dominated by fanaticism, identity politics, and groupthink, spreading a mindset that quickly seeps into public discussion and stifles honest conversation. Historically, liberalism championed reason, tolerance, and the courage to challenge ideas rather than shelter them from critique. Today's progressive movement, by contrast, has twisted that legacy into something almost unrecognizable, a culture that prioritizes victimhood, silences dissent, and attacks anyone who dares to disagree. This isn't progress, it's regression. If liberalism is to survive, these trends must be confronted. In that context, Karoline Leavitt stands out. She defies the restrictive rules of media performance by being articulate, fearless, and unwavering in her conviction. Joe Rogan's vocal support, paired with his thorough dismantling of the panel's arguments, captured what millions of viewers were already thinking but hesitant to say. Karoline demonstrates real intelligence, courage, and substance, while the panel often descends into absurdity. If we want meaningful conversation and progress, it's time to stop elevating empty spectacle and start celebrating those willing to speak the truth. Karoline Leavitt just delivered a masterclass in that very principle. If you enjoyed this discussion, please click like and subscribe to show your support, and we hope to see you at the next video.